Imagine for a moment that you are lying awake in the stillness of a sleepless night. The world outside is hushed, save for the faint whisper of the wind brushing against your window. Your body rests, but your mind refuses to settle, wandering into territories far beyond the mundane rhythm of daily life. It drifts, almost effortlessly, into the enigma of your own consciousness, a vast, uncharted spectrum stretching from the simplest awareness to realms so mystical they defy naming. What is this force that stirs within you, this silent pulse of thought and feeling that separates wakefulness from oblivion? Why does it feel so familiar, yet so utterly unknowable? As you lie there, gazing into the darkness of your room, you might sense the weight of a question forming, as if it emerges from the shadows themselves. What lies between the first fleeting flicker of thought and the deepest, most profound understanding of existence? Our minds, these intricate tapestries of memory and imagination, seem to bridge the ordinary and the extraordinary with every passing second. We think, we feel, we wonder, and yet how much of this inner world do we truly grasp? Science, with all its remarkable triumphs, has mapped the stars and decoded the building blocks of life, yet it stumbles when confronted with the anomalies of the mind. The tools of measurement and logic falter before the mystery of why we are aware at all, why we experience the world not as mere data, but as a living, breathing story. Consider the sheer vastness of this puzzle. Every thought you've ever had, every emotion that has swelled within your chest, is a ripple on the surface of something far deeper. Consciousness is not just a function or a process. It feels like a journey, an exploration without a clear destination. On nights like this, when sleep eludes you, the mind seems to peel back its own layers, revealing questions that daylight often obscures. Are we merely the sum of electrical impulses in a fragile brain? Or is there something more, something that escapes the grasp of equations and experiments? Why does the simplest act of being, knowing that you exist, feel so profound, yet so impossible to fully explain? Take a moment to reflect on this. Let your thoughts linger on the quiet wonder of your own awareness. Feel the stillness around you, the gentle rhythm of your breath, as you ponder the edges of what you know and what remains hidden. Could it be that consciousness is not just a gift, but a riddle woven into the fabric of reality itself? Perhaps it is not meant to be solved, but to be felt, to be explored in these quiet hours when the world fades and only the mind remains. And so, as you rest there in the embrace of the night, allow yourself to sink deeper into this mystery. Let the questions hover like distant stars, not demanding answers, but inviting curiosity. What is this awareness that dances within you? Is it a fleeting spark, or an eternal flame flickering across dimensions we cannot yet see? The unknown beckons, not with urgency, but with a gentle pull, as if it knows that some truths are only glimpsed in the spaces between wakefulness and dreams. Let that pull guide you now into a place of calm wonder, where the enigma of consciousness becomes not a burden, but a companion in the stillness. Imagine for a moment the very first light that pierces the darkness of a newborn's world. A faint shimmer, a blur of shapes, the soft murmur of a voice that carries no meaning, yet stirs something deep within. This is where it all begins. The raw, unfiltered sensation of being, the simplest form of awareness that hums at the core of existence. What is this primal state, this first glimpse of consciousness? Is it merely the firing of neurons, a biological spark, or something more elusive, something that slips through the fingers of understanding like a wisp of smoke in the night? Picture that newborn's gaze, wide and uncomprehending, as it meets the world for the first time. There is no thought, no language, no memory to shape what is seen or heard. There is only the pure experience of now. Light dancing on the retina, a cacophony of sounds blending into a single, overwhelming wave. It is as if the universe itself pours into this tiny vessel, unprocessed, untouched by the filters we later build. And yet, within this simplicity lies a profound mystery. How does mere biology, a collection of cells and chemicals, give rise to the sensation of being here, of feeling anything at all. Science can map the brain's pathways, trace the impulses that flicker through delicate networks, but it falters when asked to explain the leap from matter to mind, from flesh to the quiet miracle of awareness. Consider the weight of this question as it hangs in the stillness. We often take for granted the fact that we are awake to the world, that we sense and perceive. But in these earliest moments of life, before the clutter of thought and identity takes hold, there is a purity to consciousness that feels almost otherworldly. Is this baseline awareness, the simple act of existing and sensing, truly understood? Or are we peering into a void that defies all explanation? Take a moment to reflect on this. Imagine yourself as that infant, suspended in a boundless now, where nothing is named, nothing is judged, only experienced. What do you feel in that space? What do you know? As we linger in this thought, let us wander deeper into the enigma. This first level of consciousness, this raw state of being, is the foundation upon which all else is built. Every dream, every fleeting intuition, every profound insight we will ever have begins here, in the unadorned act of sensing the world. Yet even at this most basic stage, there is a whisper of the unknown. Scientists can describe the mechanics, how the brain's sensory regions light up, how signals travel from eye to mind, but they cannot touch the essence of what it means to see, to hear, to be. It is as if we stand at the edge of a vast ocean, able to measure the waves and chart the tides, but unable to grasp the depth beneath, the hidden currents that pull at something beyond our reach. And so, we are left with a quiet wonder. Is this simplest form of awareness a mere accident of evolution, a byproduct of complex systems coming together? Or does it hint at something greater, something woven into the fabric of reality itself? Perhaps, in the gaze of that newborn, there is a reflection of a truth we have yet to uncover, a truth about why we feel, why we are, why this fleeting spark of consciousness burns at all in the endless dark. Let this thought settle over you like a gentle mist, inviting you to rest in the mystery, to let the question linger as a companion in the quiet. For in this first glimpse of being, we find not answers, but the beginning of a journey into the heart of what it means to be awake. Imagine for a moment that you're standing in the quiet of early morning, the world still half asleep, as you go through the familiar motions of your day. You brush your teeth, the bristles moving in a rhythm so ingrained you barely notice them. You walk to work, your feet tracing a path they've traveled 1,000 times, while your mind hums softly in the background, lost in a haze of half-formed thoughts. These are the unremarkable moments, the mundane threads that weave the fabric of our lives, and yet, beneath their simplicity lies a profound mystery. How much of who we are operates in the shadows, unseen, unnoticed, even by ourselves? Consider the sheer vastness of your own consciousness, that invisible force guiding you through each second. How often do we truly pay attention to it? In these routine acts, pouring a cup of coffee, tying a shoelace, letting our gaze drift out a window, our minds seem to slip into a kind of autopilot, a silent machinery that hums beneath the surface. We think we know ourselves, that we are the masters of our thoughts and actions. But what if most of our existence unfolds in a realm we rarely touch, a hidden current steering us without our consent or awareness? What if the majority of our consciousness is not the bright spotlight of attention, but rather the dim, flickering edges we seldom explore? Picture an iceberg floating in a vast, dark ocean. Above the water, a small, jagged peak gleams under the sun, sharp, visible, known. This is the part of your mind you recognize, the decisions you deliberate, the memories you call upon, the words you choose to speak. But beneath the surface, stretching into unfathomable depths, lies the greater mass of the iceberg, submerged and shrouded in shadow. This is the unseen mind, the silent engine of habit, instinct, and unspoken thought. Science, with all its tools and theories, has mapped the tip of this iceberg with remarkable precision. Neurons firing, synapses connecting, chemicals dancing in intricate patterns. Yet when it peers into the depths, into those submerged layers, where routine and reflex blend into something more elusive, it finds itself grappling with questions it cannot fully answer. Why do these hidden processes shape us so profoundly? How can something so integral to our being remain so poorly understood? Take a moment to reflect on this. Think of a habit you perform without thought, perhaps the way you fold a towel or the route you take home each day. When did it become automatic? Can you recall the first time you did it, or has it always been a quiet passenger in your life, riding along unnoticed? There's a strange beauty in this, isn't there? The idea that we are, in part, strangers to ourselves, carrying within us a silent world that operates beyond our gaze. Now, let us wander a little deeper into this enigma. Consider the moments when you've caught yourself acting without intention, reaching for a glass of water before realizing you were thirsty, or humming a tune you didn't know you remembered. These are glimpses of that submerged realm, brief flickers where the hidden mind reveals itself. And yet, even as we marvel at its presence, we must ask, why does it elude us? Why does science, which can split atoms and chart distant galaxies, struggle to illuminate these unseen layers of awareness? Is it because they are too subtle, too woven into the fabric of our being, or because they hint at something beyond the physical, a dimension of consciousness that defies measurement and definition? As you sit with these questions, let your mind drift over the ordinary moments of your day. Notice how they unfold, almost as if by magic, without your conscious command. There's a quiet mystery here, a gentle reminder that even in the most mundane acts, we are vast and unknowable, a puzzle not just to the world, but to ourselves. And perhaps that is enough for now, to simply wonder at the depths beneath the surface, to feel the weight of what we cannot see, and to let that mystery linger like a soft whisper in the stillness of the night. Imagine for a moment that you are suspended in a world that defies the rules of the waking mind, a place where the impossible unfolds with the ease of a whisper. You find yourself soaring above an endless ocean, the water below a shimmering expanse of sapphire and silver, stretching into a horizon that feels both distant and intimate. The wind carries no weight, and your body is light, unbound by the laws of gravity or time. You are flying, not with wings, but with a thought, a mere intention that lifts you higher. And yet, as the waves ripple beneath you in patterns that seem to whisper forgotten truths, a question stirs in the quiet of your mind. Is this merely a dream, a fleeting illusion spun by a sleeping brain? Or could it be a portal to something more, a glimpse into hidden layers of awareness that we cannot grasp in the light of day? Dreams are strange, aren't they? They are the anomaly of consciousness that we all experience, yet so few of us truly understand. Every night, as the world falls, silent and our bodies surrender to rest, our minds weave tapestries of surreal landscapes and fragmented stories. One moment, you're walking through a childhood home that no longer exists. The next, you're conversing with someone who speaks in colors rather than words. These experiences feel so vivid, so real, that when we wake, we're left with a lingering sense of having been somewhere else. But what are they really? Are dreams just random firings of neurons? A chaotic replay of the day's events as science often suggests? Or do they carry a deeper significance, revealing levels of consciousness that lie dormant when our eyes are open? Science has ventured into this enigmatic realm with theories that attempt to pin down the purpose of dreaming. Some say it's a mechanism for processing emotions, a way for the mind to untangle the knots of daily life. Others propose it's a form of problem solving, a sandbox where the brain experiments with ideas beyond the constraints of logic. And yet, despite the countless studies and brain scans, the essence of dreams remains elusive. We can measure the rapid eye movements of REM sleep, chart the spikes of neural activity, but we cannot explain why a dream of flying over an ocean feels like a memory of something eternal. We cannot account for the way a dream can leave us trembling with awe or dread, as if we've touched a truth that the waking world conceals. Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever woken from a dream so profound that it lingered in your thoughts for days, as if it were trying to tell you something just beyond your reach? Consider the very nature of these nocturnal visions. In dreams, reality bends without resistance. Time collapses. Decades can pass in the span of a heartbeat, or a single moment can stretch into eternity. The laws of physics dissolve. You can walk through walls, breathe underwater, or summon a long-lost friend with a fleeting thought. This fluidity raises a quiet but persistent question. If consciousness can create such boundless worlds within itself, what does that say about the nature of awareness? Is the dreaming mind simply playing tricks? Or is it accessing a realm, a level of perception that exists beyond the material? Ancient cultures often saw dreams as messages from the divine, as bridges to other dimensions or ancestors. Even today, across the globe, people recount dreams that seem to predict events or connect them to distant loved ones. Science may label these as coincidence or wishful thinking, but the mystery persists, whispering in the stillness of the night. Let's linger on that image of flying over the ocean for a moment longer. As you glide above the waves, you feel a sense of freedom that the waking world rarely offers. There's no fear of falling, no doubt in your ability to defy gravity. The ocean below seems to hum with a rhythm older than time, as if it knows secrets you've forgotten. In this dream, you are not bound by the body or the mundane rules of existence. You are consciousness itself, untethered, exploring a landscape that feels both foreign and deeply familiar. What if this sensation, this unshackled state, is a clue to the hidden depths of our awareness? What if dreams are not mere noise, but windows into levels of consciousness? Perhaps levels 10 through 20 on an uncharted scale, where the mind transcends its ordinary limits and dances with the infinite. The truth is, we may never fully unravel the enigma of dreams. Science can dissect the brain's activity, map its cycles, and theorize about memory consolidation or emotional release. But it cannot capture the ineffable quality of a dream's touch, how it can heal a wound you didn't know you carried, or stir a longing for something you've never seen. Perhaps that's the beauty of this anomaly. Dreams remind us that consciousness is not a static thing to be measured or contained. It is a vast, untamed ocean of its own, with currents we cannot chart and depths we cannot fathom. And as you drift closer to sleep tonight, consider this. When your mind wanders into that surreal expanse once more, what hidden level of awareness might it uncover? What forgotten truth might it whisper in the language of waves and endless flight? Take a moment to reflect on this, and let the mystery carry you gently into the unknown. Imagine for a moment that you're suspended in a world of your own making, a realm where the impossible bends to your will. You're walking through a forest of silver trees, their leaves shimmering like liquid moonlight, when suddenly a realization dawns, a quiet, electric clarity. This isn't real, you're dreaming. And with that thought, the forest trembles, as if awaiting your command. You stretch out a hand, and the trees part, revealing a horizon of endless violet sky. You are no longer a passive wanderer in this strange land. You are its architect. What is this power, this lucid dreaming, where the boundary between waking and sleeping blurs into something almost divine? This phenomenon, where the dreamer awakens within their dream, is a quiet rebellion against the chaos of slumber. In ordinary dreams, we are passengers, carried along by narratives we cannot steer, falling from cliffs, chasing shadows, or speaking to faces long forgotten. But in a lucid dream, something shifts. Awareness pierces the veil. You stand at the helm, shaping the impossible with a thought. Perhaps you summon a forgotten friend to sit beside you, or you defy gravity, soaring over oceans that ripple like glass. The question lingers, heavy with mystery. How does consciousness achieve this? How does the mind, bound by the stillness of a sleeping body, craft a world so vivid, so malleable that it rivals reality itself? Consider the paradox at play. In waking life, we are tethered to the laws of the physical. Time marches forward, walls remain solid, and our will cannot bend the fabric of what is. Yet, in lucid dreaming, those chains dissolve. You might revisit a childhood home, every detail etched with uncanny precision, or conjure a city of floating spires simply because you wished it so. Science peers into this anomaly with curiosity, noting that during lucid dreams, parts of the brain associated with self-awareness and decision-making flicker to life, as if the sleeping mind mimics wakefulness. But this is only a fragment of the puzzle. Why does this hybrid state exist at all? Is it a mere quirk of neural wiring, a glitch in the system of rest, or does it hint at a deeper capacity of consciousness, a latent potential to transcend the ordinary limits of thought? Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever experienced such a dream, where the realization of unreality gifted you control? Perhaps you felt a quiet thrill, a sense of mastery over the intangible. Or maybe the weight of that power unsettled you, as if you'd stumbled upon a secret you weren't meant to know. What does it mean that we can govern a world that exists only within us, yet feel its textures as vividly as the waking day? Some philosophers and mystics have long whispered that lucid dreaming is more than a curiosity. It is a window, a glimpse into the mind's untapped dominion, where the self can experiment with creation unbound by flesh or physics. Ancient traditions, from the dream yoga of Tibetan Buddhism to the writings of Greek thinkers like Aristotle, speak of dreams as a training ground for the soul, a space to rehearse courage or unravel fears. Even today, some psychologists use lucid dreaming as a tool to confront trauma, allowing the dreamer to rewrite haunting scripts with newfound agency. Yet science hesitates at the threshold of these claims. It can measure brain activity, chart the phases of REM sleep, but it cannot grasp why this blurring of states feels so profound, so otherworldly. Is lucid dreaming a higher rung on the ladder of awareness, a fleeting ascension to a state we cannot sustain? Or is it merely the brain playing tricks, a mirage of control in a sea of randomness? Picture yourself once more in that silver forest, the air humming with possibility. You decide to test the limits. With a thought, the ground beneath you transforms into a mirror, reflecting not your face, but a kaleidoscope of memories, fragments of laughter, whispers of loss, all swirling together. You reach out to touch them, and they scatter like startled birds. In this moment, are you more awake than in your waking hours? Does consciousness, freed from the mundane, reveal a truer self, one that creates, commands, and transcends? Or is this sovereignty an illusion, a fleeting dream within a dream, destined to dissolve with the first light of morning? As the violet sky above you begins to shimmer, hinting at the edges of wakefulness, the mystery deepens. Lucid dreaming stands as a quiet defiance of what we thought we knew about the mind, a reminder that even in sleep, we are not entirely bound, not entirely passive. Perhaps it is a rehearsal for something greater, a whisper of what consciousness could become if unshackled. Or perhaps it is simply a beautiful anomaly, a gift of the night that asks no explanation, only wonder. Let that wonder linger with you. Now, a soft echo in the stillness, as you ponder the worlds you might shape when sleep claims you next. Imagine for a moment that time itself slips away, like sand through your fingers, leaving you suspended in a space where nothing matters but the rhythm of your own breath. There's a peculiar stillness, a quiet intensity, as if the world has paused just for you to step into something greater. This is the realm of the flow state, a mysterious plateau of consciousness where the boundaries of self and action dissolve into a seamless dance. It's a place where hours feel like heartbeats, where every movement, every thought becomes effortless, almost otherworldly. Have you ever found yourself so utterly lost in a moment that you forgot who you were, forgot the very notion of time? Picture an artist standing before a canvas, the air thick with the scent of paint and possibility. Their brush moves as if guided by an unseen force, each stroke blending into the next without hesitation, without doubt. The world outside fades. There are no ticking clocks, no distant voices, only the silent harmony between mind and creation. In this space, the artist isn't merely painting. They are the painting, woven into every shade and shadow. It's as if consciousness itself has stretched beyond its ordinary confines, reaching a heightened clarity, a quiet power that defies the mundane. What is it about these moments that lifts us so far beyond the everyday? Is this a glimpse into a deeper layer of awareness, a fleeting touch of something sacred within us? Consider how rare and elusive this state can be. Most of our lives are spent in the grind of routine, our minds tethered to the next task, the next worry. Yet, in the flow, we transcend that tether. A musician lost in a melody, fingers dancing across strings as if the notes were always meant to be. An athlete on the field, every muscle moving in perfect sync, as if the game itself were an extension of their being. These are not just acts of skill, but acts of surrender. It's as though consciousness, for a brief and luminous moment, forgets its limits and becomes boundless. Why is it that we can't summon this state at will? What hidden mechanisms of the mind unlock this effortless grace, and why do they remain so veiled from us? Science has peered into this phenomenon, mapping brainwaves and observing neural patterns, yet it stumbles when asked to explain the essence of flow. We know that in these moments, certain areas of the brain quiet down, the parts tied to self-awareness, to doubt, to the constant chatter of thought. Meanwhile, others light up, forging connections that feel almost electric. But knowing this is not the same as understanding it. Why does consciousness bend in this way, allowing us to touch a state of pure presence? Is flow a mere byproduct of focus, a happy accident of biology, or does it hint at a potential we've yet to fully grasp, a level of awareness that lies dormant, waiting to be awakened? Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever felt that sense of timelessness, where the world melted away and you were simply there? Perhaps it was in the quiet of writing, the rhythm of a run, or even the stillness of a conversation where every word felt perfectly placed. What did it feel like to be so utterly immersed, so free from the weight of yourself? As we linger on this thought, let's wander deeper into the mystery. Flow is not just a state of mind, it's a reminder of how little we truly know about our own inner landscapes. We can measure the brain's activity, chart its chemical surges, but the feeling, the raw, unfiltered experience of being in flow, slips through the net of explanation. It's as if consciousness, in these rare moments, whispers to us of its hidden depths, of levels beyond our reach. Imagine if we could live in this state, not just for fleeting seconds, but as a way of being. Would we see the world differently? Would we understand ourselves in a way that words could never capture? This elusive zone, where time dissolves and action becomes art, challenges us to question the very nature of awareness. It suggests that our minds are capable of more than we realize, that beneath the surface of thought and habit lies a reservoir of potential, shimmering just out of sight. Perhaps flow is a bridge, a fleeting connection to a higher state of being, one that science can observe but not yet recreate. Or perhaps it's a mirror, reflecting back to us the mystery of who we are when we stop trying to be anything at all. As we sit with this idea, let the quiet of this moment settle over you, like a soft fog over a still lake, and wonder, what other unseen heights might consciousness hold, waiting just beyond the horizon of our understanding? Imagine for a moment that you're standing at a crossroads in an ancient, misty forest, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and pine. Two paths stretch before you, each winding into the shadowy unknown. Logic tells you to choose the wider, well-trodden trail, the one marked by footprints of those who've gone before. Yet, something deeper, A quiet, wordless nudge pulls you toward the narrower path, overgrown with brambles, barely visible in the twilight. You can't explain why, but you feel it in your bones. This is the way. And so, against all reason, you step forward, guided by a force you cannot name. What is this unseen guide, this whisper from within that seems to know more than your conscious mind? Is it mere chance, a trick of the brain, or something far stranger, a hidden layer of awareness tapping into truths beyond our understanding? This is the enigma of intuition, that mysterious compass that often steers us when logic falters. It's a sensation as old as humanity itself, a quiet knowing that has guided hunters through uncharted wilderness, mothers to their children's unspoken needs, and artists to strokes of genius that defy explanation. Think of a time when you felt it, a sudden certainty about a decision, a gut feeling that warned you of danger, or an inexplicable pull toward a person or place. It arrives unbidden, without evidence or argument, yet its accuracy can be uncanny, as if some part of you is reading a script the rest of your mind cannot see. How often have we dismissed such feelings as irrational, only to later realize they were right all along? Let's wander deeper into this forest of thought. Picture that traveler again, alone under a canopy of ancient trees, the world's silent save for the rustle of leaves. They've never walked this path before, yet something within them senses a stream just beyond the next bend, a source of water they'll need to survive the night. There's no map, no signpost, only this faint, insistent hunch. They follow it, and there it is. A shimmering brook, hidden from view, but exactly where they felt it would be. Is this merely a lucky guess, a subconscious calculation of probability based on past experience? Science often leans toward this explanation, suggesting that intuition is nothing more than the brain processing subtle cues, patterns we've learned over time but can't consciously articulate. A quickened heartbeat, a fleeting memory of similar terrain, a barely noticed shift in the air, all woven together into a decision we attribute to instinct. But what if there's more to it? What if intuition is not just a byproduct of neural wiring, but a bridge to something beyond the physical, a fleeting connection to a deeper current of knowledge? Ancient cultures revered this inner voice as a gift from the divine, a whisper from ancestors or spirits guiding the living. The Greeks spoke of the demon, a personal spirit offering insight. Shamans across traditions trusted visions and gut feelings as messages from unseen realms. Even today, in our age of data and skepticism, we find ourselves pausing at the edge of a choice, listening for that silent nudge. Could it be that consciousness, in its quietest moments, reaches beyond the boundaries of the brain, touching something vast and unknowable? Or are we simply romanticizing a biological quirk, dressing up random impulses in the garb of mystery? Take a moment to reflect on this. When was the last time you trusted a feeling over reason, and what did it reveal to you? Was it a fleeting coincidence, or did it feel like something more, a glimpse into a hidden part of yourself? Science, for all its brilliance, stumbles here. It can measure the brain's activity during moments of intuition, mapping spikes in certain regions like the insula or the anterior cingulate cortex, areas tied to emotion and decision-making. It can theorize that these hunches are rapid, unconscious, assessments of risk and reward, honed by evolution to keep us alive. Yet, it cannot explain why some intuitive leaps seem to defy all prior knowledge, why a novice might sense a coming storm when seasoned sailors see clear skies, or why a stranger's face can feel instantly trustworthy despite no evidence to support it. There are stories, countless and ancient, of people who've escaped disaster by heeding a sudden, baseless urge to flee, or who found their life's purpose in a moment of inexplicable clarity. Are these mere outliers, statistical, flukes, or do they hint at a capacity within us that remains uncharted? Consider the possibility that intuition is a vestige of something older than thought itself, a remnant of a time when survival depended not on analysis, but on feeling the world in its raw, unspoken form. Before language, before reason, our ancestors, navigated a perilous earth with senses attuned to the slightest shifts, predators in the shadows, storms brewing beyond the horizon. Perhaps intuition is that primal awareness lingering in us still, a quiet sentinel watching over the noisy machinery of our modern minds. Or perhaps it's something stranger, a thread connecting us to a collective reservoir of knowing, a shared consciousness we've forgotten how to hear. Why does it speak so softly? And why do we so often ignore it until it's proven right? As we linger on this shadowy path, let's not rush to answers. The beauty of intuition lies in its elusiveness, in the way it slips through the grasp of definition. It reminds us that not all of what we are can be measured or mapped, that beneath the surface of our rational selves flows a current of mystery. Whether it's a neural shortcut or a whisper from beyond, it beckons us to trust in the unseen, to step into the unknown with a kind of quiet faith. And perhaps that's its truest gift. Not certainty, but the courage to walk a path without knowing where it leads, guided only by the faint light of a feeling. So, as you rest here in this moment, let that thought settle like mist over the forest. What might happen if you listened more closely to that wordless voice within? Where might it guide you, if only you dared to follow? Have you ever stepped into a moment so strangely familiar that it feels as though you've lived it before? A fleeting second where the air thickens, the world slows, and a whisper in your mind insists, "This has happened, though you know it, cannot have." This is the enigma of déjà vu, a quiet ripple in the fabric of consciousness that unsettles as much as it intrigues. It's as if time itself stumbles, looping back to play a scene you swear belongs to another life, another reality. What is this echo of experience? And why does it linger in the shadows of our awareness, defying all attempts to pin it down? Picture yourself walking into a room you've never seen before, a quaint cafe on a cobblestone street, the scent of roasted coffee mingling with the faint murmur of strangers. You sit at a small wooden table by the window, and as you lift the cup to your lips, a shiver runs through you. The angle of the light, the clink of porcelain, the hum of a distant conversation. It's all impossibly familiar. You've been here, in this exact sliver of time, though your memory protests that it's impossible. Your heart quickens, caught between wonder and unease, as if you've glimpsed something you weren't meant to see. Is this a trick of the mind, a misfiring of neurons shuffling through forgotten impressions? Or does consciousness hold a deeper secret, a connection to moments beyond the linear march of time? Déjà vu, a French term meaning already seen, has haunted human experience for centuries, woven into folklore and whispered about in quiet corners. Some ancient cultures saw it as a sign of past lives, a fleeting memory of a soul's prior journey seeping into the present. Others believed it to be a glitch in the divine order, a moment where the veil between worlds thins just enough to let us peek through. Even today, when science seeks to ground every mystery in the physical, déjà vu romain élusive, researchers propose theories. Perhaps it's a delay in neural processing, one part of the brain registering a scene as new, while another mistakenly tags it as old. Or maybe it's a fragment of a dream, half remembered, overlaying the waking world. Yet none of these explanations fully satisfy. They describe the mechanics, but not the feeling, that unshakable sense of having touched something beyond the now. Consider for a moment the possibility that consciousness isn't bound by the ticking of clocks. What if our awareness, in its quiet depths, brushes against dimensions or timelines we cannot perceive? Could déjà vu be a signal, faint and fleeting, of a reality where time isn't a straight path, but a vast, interconnected web? We think of the present as a single point, marching obediently into the future. But what if every moment echoes across unseen planes, reverberating through the essence of who we are? Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever felt that uncanny familiarity? And if so, did it stir a longing to understand something just out of reach? Science, for all its rigor, stands at the edge of this anomaly with more questions than answers. Studies suggest that up to 70% of people experience déjà vu at some point, often in their youth when the brain is most malleable. Yet why does it strike without warning, in the most mundane of settings, a glance at a street sign, a turn of a doorknob, and leave us grasping for meaning? Some neuroscientists point to the temporal lobe, a region tied to memory and perception, as the likely culprit, proposing that a brief seizure-like event might create the illusion of recollection. Others speculate it's tied to stress or fatigue, the mind's way of coping with overload by weaving false familiarity. But these are guesses, not certainties. The heart of déjà vu remains untouched, a quiet mystery that slips through the net of empirical thought. Let's wander deeper into the philosophical. If consciousness is more than a byproduct of biology, more than a flicker of synapses, could déjà vu be a bridge to something greater? Imagine that every moment you live leaves an imprint, not just in your mind, but in the very fabric of existence, a resonance that sometimes, inexplicably, you tune into again. Or perhaps it's a reminder that we are not as isolated as we believe, that our inner world mirrors a vast, unseen tapestry where past, present, and future blur into one. When you feel that eerie echo, are you simply remembering, or are you receiving? A message from a self you've yet to meet, or a reality you've yet to uncover. As you sit with this thought, imagine that cafe again. The light filters through, the window just as it did, casting a soft golden glow across the table. The murmur of voices hums like a distant melody, and for a heartbeat, you're certain you've sat here 1,000 times before. Yet you haven't. Or have you? The sensation fades as quickly as it came, leaving behind a faint trace of wonder, a quiet invitation to question the boundaries of what you know. Déjà vu doesn't demand answers. It simply asks you to feel its presence, to acknowledge that consciousness might hold doors we've yet to open. Take a moment to reflect on this. When was the last time you felt the world repeat itself as if whispering a secret meant just for you? Let that memory linger, not with unease, but with curiosity. For in these fleeting echoes, we glimpse the possibility that our awareness stretches far beyond the edges of what we can name, into a realm where time itself might bend to the quiet rhythm of the mind. Imagine for a moment that the world you perceive is not just seen or heard, but tasted in vibrant hues, felt in waves of melody. What if the sharp cry of a violin didn't merely echo in your ears, but unfurled before your eyes as a cascade of violet, rippling like water under a twilight sky? For some, this is no mere fantasy, but a lived reality, a phenomenon called synesthesia, where the boundaries between senses blur and merge into a tapestry of experience most of us can scarcely fathom. As we linger in this mysterious corner of human consciousness, somewhere between the ordinary and the extraordinary, we must ask, is this a rare gift, a higher form of awareness, or simply a curious quirk of the mind? Consider the life of someone for whom every sound paints a picture, every taste evokes a texture. A single note from a piano might bloom as a field of golden wheat in their vision, swaying with the rhythm of the music. A sip of bitter coffee could summon the sensation of rough burlap against their skin, while the laughter of a friend shimmers as a burst of crimson sparks. This cross-wiring of senses is not a choice, nor a fleeting daydream. It is their constant reality, a world where perception is a symphony of unexpected connections. And as we ponder this, a quiet wonder emerges. Could this blending of senses reveal something deeper about the nature of consciousness itself? Might it be a glimpse into a level of awareness that transcends the rigid categories we've drawn around sight, sound, and touch? Science, with its meticulous tools and tireless curiosity, has peered into the brains of those with synesthesia and found tantalizing clues. Neural pathways, it seems, sometimes weave together in ways that defy the norm, allowing signals meant for one sense to spill over into another. But while we can map these connections, trace the firing of neurons like stars in a constellation, the deeper question remains unanswered. Why does this happen? Is there a purpose to this sensory overlap? Or is it merely an accident of biology, a stray thread in the intricate loom of the mind? Some researchers speculate that we all begin life with such intertwined senses that as infants, our perception is a chaotic blend of color and sound and feeling, only to be pruned and separated as we grow. If this is true, then perhaps synesthesia is not an anomaly, but a remnant, a whisper of a more primal, unified way of experiencing the world. Take a moment to reflect on this. Imagine a time before your senses were divided, when every sensation flowed into one boundless stream. What might it feel like to return to such a state? Yet, even as science marvels at this phenomenon, it hesitates to assign it meaning beyond the physical. Is synesthesia a doorway to a heightened consciousness, a state where the mind perceives reality in richer, more interconnected layers? Or is it simply a variation, no more significant than the color of one's eyes or the timbre of one's voice? Those who live with it often describe a profound sense of beauty in their blended world, a depth of experience that feels almost sacred. A musician might compose not just with notes, but with the greens and blues that dance before their eyes with each chord. A poet might craft verses inspired by the flavors that certain words evoke on their tongue. And in these accounts, we hear an echo of something ancient, something that stirs a quiet longing within us all, a desire to perceive the world not as fragmented pieces, but as a whole, a chorus of senses singing in harmony. Let us wander further into this enigma. If consciousness is the lens through which we encounter reality, then synesthesia suggests that lens can bend and refract in ways we've yet to fully grasp. Perhaps it hints at untapped potentials within us, levels of awareness that lie dormant, waiting for the right key to unlock them. Or perhaps it is a reminder of how little we truly know about the mind's vast landscape, how even the most extraordinary experiences might be no more than ripples on the surface of a deeper, unseen ocean. What if our senses, as we know them, are merely a starting point, a rudimentary map of a territory far more intricate than we can imagine? Could there be other ways of perceiving, other synesthetic bridges we've yet to cross, hidden within the folds of our own consciousness? As we sit with this mystery, let the questions linger like a soft melody in the air. There is no need for answers just yet, only the gentle invitation to wonder. Picture again that violin's cry, transforming into waves of violet before your eyes, and let yourself feel the strangeness of it, the beauty of a world where boundaries dissolve. Take a moment to reflect on this. What might your own senses reveal if they were freed from their usual confines? In this quiet space, we are reminded that consciousness is not a solved puzzle, but a realm of endless possibility, a garden where the unexpected blooms in shades we've never dreamed of seeing. And perhaps, in that blooming, we find a whisper of something greater, a hint of the mind's true reach, stretching far beyond the edges of what we thought we knew. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting in absolute silence, the world around you fading into a distant murmur. Your breath becomes your only anchor, a slow, steady rhythm that seems to weave itself into the fabric of the universe. In this stillness, something extraordinary begins to happen. The boundaries of who you are, the edges of your thoughts and identity, start to blur. It's as if the self you've always known, the one tied to a name, a body, a story, begins to dissolve, like mist under the morning sun. What remains is not emptiness, but a vast, boundless awareness, as though you are no longer just a single point of consciousness, but a part of something infinite. This is the realm of meditation, a quiet yet profound journey where the mind transcends its usual chatter and the body feels less like a cage and more like a fleeting vessel. In these moments of deep stillness, you might find yourself wondering, is this merely a trick of the brain, a brief escape from reality, or is it a glimpse into a higher state of being? Does consciousness, in shedding the weight of the self, touch something beyond the physical, beyond what we can measure or name? Consider the ancient sages who sat beneath banyan trees thousands of years ago, their eyes closed, their breaths slow, seeking answers not in the world around them, but in the silent depths within. They spoke of unity, of becoming one with the cosmos, of a state where the individual dissolves into the eternal. Were they merely poets weaving metaphors, or did they uncover a truth about consciousness that modern tools and theories still grapple to understand? Even today, as science peers into the brain with scans and electrodes, it can chart the slowing of neural activity, the shift in brainwaves during meditation. It can tell us that the prefrontal cortex, the seat of self-awareness, quiets down, while other regions associated with boundless perception light up. Yet, when asked to explain the essence of this experience, the feeling of transcendence, the dissolution of separation, science hesitates. It offers data, but not meaning. Think of consciousness in these moments as a river that has spent its life carving through stone, rushing towards some distant destination. In meditation, the river slows, widens, and for a fleeting instant becomes the ocean itself. There is no hurry, no boundary, no separation between the water and the vast expanse it merges into. Is this what the mind seeks when it quiets? A return to something primal, something that existed before thought, before form? Or is it reaching forward, toward a state we have yet to fully comprehend, a level of awareness that lies just beyond the horizon of our understanding? Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever felt, even for a second, that sense of losing yourself? Not in distraction, but in stillness. That fleeting instant where the weight of your worries, your name, your past seem to lift, leaving behind only a quiet presence. What did it whisper to you about who or what you truly are? The mystery deepens when we consider that this transcendence is not unique to any one culture or time. From the deserts of ancient Egypt to the monasteries of Tibet, from the quiet rooms of modern mindfulness practitioners to the solitary retreats of poets and philosophers, the language of this experience remains strikingly similar. A letting go, a melting away, a connection to something greater. Yet, why does this state elude definition? Why can we measure the physical correlates of meditation, the lowered heart rate, the altered brain patterns, but not capture the intangible essence of what it means to transcend the self? Is it because consciousness, at its deepest levels, is not merely a product of the brain, but something that exists in dialogue with a reality we cannot yet grasp? As you sit with these questions, imagine yourself once more in that quiet space, breath by breath, slipping beyond the confines of thought. Picture the self as a lantern, its light flickering within the glass of identity. In meditation, the glass shatters, not violently, but gently, imperceptibly, and the light merges with the darkness, becoming indistinguishable from the night. What is this light, this awareness, when it no longer belongs to you alone? Is it a gateway, a fleeting passage to a higher realm of consciousness, or simply a mirror reflecting the mind's own capacity for wonder? Let this thought linger as a soft echo in your mind. There is no need for answers now, only the gentle invitation to wonder. For in the stillness of meditation, perhaps the greatest anomaly of consciousness reveals itself, not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a mystery to be lived. Imagine for a moment, standing alone under a vast starlit sky, the kind of night where the universe seems to press close, whispering secrets in a language you can't quite grasp. There's a stillness so profound that the boundary between you and the infinite begins to blur, as if your very essence is dissolving into the cosmic expanse. In this fleeting instant, you feel not just a part of the world, but as though you are the world. Every star, every void, every silent pulse of eternity. What is this sensation? This overwhelming unity that washes over you without warning or explanation? Is this the pinnacle of what your mind can touch, or merely a mirage woven by the fragile threads of thought? These are the mystical experiences, moments that defy the ordinary and pull us into a realm where the self seems to vanish, where the illusion of separation crumbles and we stand naked before the totality of existence. They are not summoned by will or effort. They arrive like uninvited guests, often in the quietest hours or the most unexpected places, beneath a canopy of ancient trees, in the hush of a sacred space, or as now, under the endless gaze of the night sky. Across cultures and centuries, these states have been described with reverence. The Sufi poets spoke of dissolving into the divine, the mystics of old recounted visions of oneness, and indigenous shamans whispered of merging with the spirit of the earth. Yet for all their beauty, these experiences remain an enigma, a puzzle that neither scripture nor science can fully untangle. Consider what happens in such a moment. Your heartbeat slows, your breath becomes a rhythm older than time, and the chatter of your mind falls silent, as if it has finally heard a truth too vast to argue with. There's no longer a you standing apart to observe or judge. There's only being, raw and boundless, as if your consciousness has stretched to embrace the entirety of creation. Is this the highest reach of human awareness, a fleeting glimpse of what lies beyond the veil of our daily perception? Or is it a trick of the brain, a surge of chemicals, painting an illusion of unity to comfort us against the chaos of existence? Science, in its meticulous way, leans toward the latter. It speaks of altered states, of dopamine and serotonin, of neural networks firing in patterns that mimic euphoria or transcendence. But even as it measures and hypothesizes, it admits a quiet defeat. It cannot capture the feeling of such a moment, the ineffable certainty that you've touched something greater than yourself. Think of the accounts that have echoed through history. A medieval monk kneeling in cold stone cloister suddenly feels the presence of an infinite light, not seen with eyes, but known with every fiber of his being. A desert wanderer, parched and weary, collapses under the sun only to awaken, with a vision of all life as one endless thread woven through time. Even in our modern age, ordinary souls, perhaps someone like you, report these unbidden encounters. A sense of merging with the ocean's tide, or a sudden knowing that every stranger's pain is your own. These are not mere daydreams. They carry a weight, a texture that lingers long after the moment fades. And yet, when we turn to the laboratory for answers, we find only theories, speculations about brain states and evolutionary quirks, none of which explain why such experiences feel so profoundly real, so undeniably true. Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever felt such a connection, a dissolving of the walls that usually hold you separate from the world? Perhaps it was brief, a flicker during a quiet walk or in the stillness before sleep, but it left an imprint, a question that refuses to fade. What if these mystical states are not illusions but windows, portals to a deeper layer of consciousness that we've yet to understand? What if, in these rare instants, we are brushing against the very fabric of reality, a truth that our waking minds are too cluttered to hold? The mystery deepens when we consider how universal these experiences are, transcending borders and beliefs. A Buddhist monk in Tibet might call it enlightenment, a fleeting taste of nirvana. A scientist meditating for the first time might describe it as a neurological anomaly, yet still confess to being shaken by its power. Both, in their own way, grapple with the same unanswerable core. Why does consciousness, this strange gift of awareness, sometimes expand beyond the individual to embrace the whole? Is this a glitch in our design? Or is it the purpose we've forgotten, a reminder of a unity we once knew but lost in the noise of living? As the starlit sky above you seems to hum with a quiet knowing, let your mind linger on this edge of wonder. Perhaps these mystical states are not meant to be solved, not meant to be reduced to equations or explanations. Perhaps they are invitations to feel, to question, to remember that we are more than the sum of our thoughts and flesh. In this vast night, where the universe holds you in its silent gaze, allow yourself to simply be, to rest in the possibility that consciousness, at its deepest, is not a solitary spark, but a shared flame flickering across the endless dark. Imagine, for a moment, that the boundary between life and death isn't as firm as we've been taught to believe. Picture yourself in a quiet, sterile hospital room, the steady beep of a monitor slowing to a haunting stillness. Your heart stops, the world fades, and yet, something persists. A sensation of floating, a perspective from above, gazing down at your own motionless form surrounded by frantic hands trying to pull you back. Then, a light, radiant, warm, unlike anything you've ever known, beckons from a distance. Is this the end, or merely a doorway to something beyond comprehension? Welcome to the enigmatic realm of near-death experiences, where the fabric of consciousness seems to stretch past the limits of the body and challenge everything we think we know about existence. These accounts, whispered by those who have brushed against the edge of oblivion, carry a weight that lingers long after the telling. They speak of a clarity, a profound peace, as if the chaos of life falls away to reveal an unspoken truth. Some recall vivid encounters, loved ones long gone extending, a hand or a voice that speaks without sound, guiding them through a landscape that defies description. Others describe a tunnel, a pull toward that luminous glow, only to be drawn back into the heaviness of breath and flesh at the last moment. What is it about these moments that feels so real, so undeniable, even when the mind should, by all accounts, be silent? Are we witnessing the final flicker of a desperate brain, weaving comfort in its last gasps? Or is there something more, a glimpse of a reality that lies just beyond the veil? Science, with its relentless pursuit of evidence, stands at a crossroads when faced with these stories. On one hand, there are theories rooted in the tangible. The brain, starved of oxygen, might conjure hallucinations as a coping mechanism, a chemical flood of endorphins painting a serene illusion to ease the transition. Studies point to surges in neural activity, even in those fleeting moments after clinical death, suggesting that the mind might craft these visions as a final act of storytelling. And yet, how do we account for the shared elements across cultures and eras? The light, the tunnel, the overwhelming sense of love or judgment. Why do some return with knowledge they couldn't have gained? Details of surgeries observed from above, or conversations heard while their body lay unresponsive. These are the threads that science cannot yet weave into a coherent tapestry, leaving the debate open, unresolved, a quiet storm of wonder rumbling beneath the surface of empirical thought. Consider, too, the transformation that often follows. Those who return from this threshold rarely come back unchanged. They speak of a newfound reverence for life, a shedding of petty fears, as if they've touched something eternal that recalibrates their very being. Imagine looking into the eyes of someone who has seen beyond. There's a quiet knowing there, isn't there? A depth that words struggle to capture. Does this suggest that consciousness, in its most vulnerable moment, accesses a layer of existence we cannot measure or map? Or is it simply the mind's way of rewriting its own narrative, finding meaning in the face of the ultimate unknown? Take a moment to reflect on this. What would it mean to you to step beyond the edge and return with a truth no one else can fully grasp? Let's linger on the light for a moment longer, that recurring motif in so many accounts. It's described not just as a brightness, but as a presence, something alive, intelligent, enveloping. In ancient texts, light has always symbolized the divine, the source, the infinite. Could it be that our consciousness, untethered from the physical, instinctively reaches for this archetype, a universal symbol of origin and end? Or does this light point to something literal, a beacon of another plane where the rules of time and matter dissolve? The mystery deepens when we consider that even those blind from birth report this radiance, not as a visual phenomenon, but as a felt knowing, an indescribable warmth that transcends the senses. How can we reconcile this with a mere neurological trick? As we sit with these questions, let them settle like a soft mist over the mind. There's no need for answers tonight, only the gentle pull of curiosity. Near-death experiences stand as a quiet rebellion against the finality we've been taught to accept. They whisper of a consciousness that might not be bound by the fragile shell of the body, a force that persists, observes, perhaps even journeys when the heart falls still. Whether this is a biological echo or a window to the infinite, it stirs something within us, a longing to understand what lies just out of reach. So, let this enigma be your companion for now, a quiet riddle to ponder as the world around you fades into stillness. What if, in those fleeting moments beyond the veil, we are closer to the essence of who we are than at any other time? Let that thought linger, soft and unanswered, as you drift deeper into the night. Imagine for a moment that you are suspended in a realm beyond the familiar confines of your body. It's the dead of night, and as you lie in the quiet stillness of your room, a strange sensation washes over you. You feel a subtle shift, as if a part of you is rising, floating upward, untethered from the weight of flesh and bone. Suddenly, you're looking down at yourself. Your sleeping form sprawled beneath a thin blanket, the rise and fall of your chest, a rhythm you no longer feel. The room is the same, yet different, seen from an impossible angle. The faint glow of moonlight spills through the window, casting long shadows across the floor, and you hover there, weightless, detached, a silent observer of your own existence. What is this? Is this a mere trick of the mind, or have you stumbled upon a hidden truth about the nature of awareness itself? This curious phenomenon, often called an out-of-body experience, sits at the edge of what we understand about consciousness. It's a state where the self seems to slip free from its physical anchor, wandering as though the body were nothing more than a temporary vessel. Countless individuals across cultures and centuries have described such moments, some during deep sleep, others in times of trauma or profound relaxation. They speak of drifting above their surroundings, seeing with a clarity that defies the limits of their eyes, sometimes even journeying to places far beyond the room they left behind. And yet, as we linger on these accounts, a question emerges, like a whisper in the dark. Does this suggest that consciousness is something separable, something more than the sum of neurons firing in a fragile brain? Or is this merely a vivid illusion, a story the mind tells itself in moments of disconnection? Consider the texture of such an experience. There's a stillness to it, a quiet that feels almost sacred. You're not bound by the usual clamor of thought or the relentless pull of the physical. Instead, there's a sense of freedom, as if you've stepped outside the cage of the everyday self. Some describe a cord, a faint thread of light connecting them back to their body, a lifeline that tugs gently when it's time to return. Others feel no such tether, only an expansive awareness that stretches beyond walls, beyond time. And in that space, you can't help but wonder, what am I truly? Am I this hovering presence, this silent witness, or am I the sleeping figure below, unaware of the journey unfolding above? Take a moment to reflect on this. Let the question linger, like a ripple on still water. Science, with its tools of measurement and logic, grapples with these accounts in a way that feels almost clumsy. Researchers have attempted to study out-of-body experiences, often tying them to neurological quirks or the brain's response to stress. Perhaps they suggest it's a form of dissociation, a protective mechanism when reality becomes too much to bear. Or maybe it's a glitch in the brain's mapping of the self, a momentary confusion of where I begins and ends. Experiments have even induced similar sensations using virtual reality or stimulation of certain brain regions, creating a shadow of the experience in a controlled setting. Yet for all these efforts, the core mystery remains untouched. Why do these experiences feel so real, so distinct from a mere dream or hallucination? Why do those who've lived them often return with a profound sense of certainty, as if they've glimpsed something beyond the material? There's a deeper layer to this enigma, one that pulls us into the realm of the philosophical. If consciousness can seem to detach from the body, even for a fleeting moment, what does that imply about its nature? Is it a product of the physical, bound to the brain like a flame to a candle? Or is it something else, something that merely inhabits the body, capable of wandering free when the conditions are right? Ancient traditions have long spoken of the soul, a timeless essence that transcends the mortal shell. In their stories, out-of-body experiences are not anomalies, but evidence of our true nature, a reminder that we are more than flesh. Modern thought, however, hesitates at such claims, tethered to the measurable, the provable, and so we stand at a crossroads, caught between the mystical and the material, between what we feel in the silence of the night and what we can explain in the light of day. Picture yourself now, still hovering in that imagined space above your sleeping self. The world below is quiet, almost frozen in time, yet there's a hum beneath it all, a sense of vastness, of possibility. What if this detachment is not a departure, but a return, a brief reunion with a state of being we've forgotten? What if consciousness is not confined to the body at all, but merely chooses to anchor there for reasons we cannot yet fathom? Or perhaps this is all a mirage, a beautiful fiction spun by a mind desperate to believe in something beyond the mundane. The uncertainty is not a burden, but a quiet companion, inviting us to question, to wonder, to feel the edges of what we think we know. As you linger in this thought, let the sensation of floating fade gently, like a dream dissolving at dawn. There's no need for answers tonight, only the space to hold these mysteries close. Take a moment to reflect on this, to let the idea of a consciousness unbound settle into the stillness of your mind. Whether this experience is a glimpse of something greater or a fleeting illusion, it reminds us of the endless depths within us, depths that even the sharpest tools of science cannot fully chart. And in that unknowing, there is a kind of peace, a quiet permission to simply be, to drift in the vastness of what might be true. Imagine, for a moment, standing in the heart of a vast crowd, thousands of souls gathered in a single space, their voices rising and falling like waves on a distant shore. Amidst the clamor, something strange happens. A shared emotion, unspoken, yet palpable, seems to sweep through the throng. It's as if a single thought, a singular feeling, ripples from one mind to another, binding strangers in an invisible thread. You feel it too, don't you? That fleeting sense of connection, as though your inner world has momentarily brushed against another's. What is this phenomenon? Is it merely empathy, a trick of mirrored neurons firing in unison? Or could it be something more? A glimpse into a collective consciousness, a shared mind that transcends the barriers of individuality. Let's linger on this mystery, allowing it to unfold slowly in the quiet of our thoughts. The idea of a collective consciousness is not new. It whispers through ancient philosophies and spiritual traditions, from the interconnectedness of Buddhist thought to the Jungian concept of a shared unconscious, a reservoir of archetypes and memories that all of humanity dips into. Picture a vast, unseen ocean beneath the surface of our individual minds, its currents flowing between us, carrying fragments of dreams, fears, and hopes. In moments of profound unity, like a crowd moved to tears by a song, or a community banding together in crisis, do we tap into this deeper well? Is it possible that our consciousness, so often confined within the walls of personal experience, occasionally spills over, merging with others in ways we cannot see or measure? Consider a time when you felt this invisible bond. Perhaps it was during a celebration where laughter seemed to synchronize hearts, or in a moment of shared grief where silence spoke louder than words. There's a strange familiarity in these experiences, as though we've stepped into a space where the I dissolves, if only for a breath, into a greater we. Science might explain this as empathy, a biological mechanism honed by evolution to ensure survival through cooperation. Mirror neurons, they say, allow us to feel another's pain or joy as if it were our own. But does this fully account for the depth of connection we sometimes sense? Could there be an anomaly here, a layer of consciousness that defies the boundaries of flesh and bone, linking us in ways that no microscope or brain scan can detect? Take a moment to reflect on this. Close your eyes, if only in your mind, and recall a time when you felt inexplicably tied to someone or something beyond yourself. Was there a knowing, a resonance that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once? Let that memory linger, like a faint echo in a cavernous space. Now let's wander deeper into this uncharted territory. If a collective consciousness exists, what might it mean for who we are? Are we truly separate, each mind an island adrift in its own sea of thought? Or are we merely nodes in a vast network, connected by unseen filaments of awareness? Ancient mystics spoke of a universal mind, a cosmic intelligence in which all beings participate. Modern thinkers, too, have toyed with the idea. Philosophers pondering panpsychism, the notion that consciousness might permeate all things, from the smallest atom to the grandest galaxy. Yet science, with its insistence on the tangible, hesitates to tread here. It demands evidence, replicable data, and so this anomaly remains on the fringes, a question mark scrawled in the margins of empirical study. Why does the scientific lens shy away from this possibility? Is it fear of the unprovable, or is there a deeper reluctance to confront the idea that our individuality might be an illusion? Let's imagine, just for a moment, that such a shared mind is real. Picture yourself not as a solitary thinker, but as a single note in an infinite symphony, your thoughts and feelings resonating with countless others in a melody beyond comprehension. In this vision, every act of kindness, every burst of creativity, every quiet longing becomes a contribution to something greater, a collective tapestry woven from the threads of human experience. But with this beauty comes a shadow. If our minds are truly linked, what of our darker impulses? Do anger, fear, and despair also ripple outward, tainting the shared waters? The weight of such a thought is both awe-inspiring and unsettling, a reminder of how little we grasp about the nature of our own awareness. As we sit with this idea, let's not rush to answers. The mystery of a collective consciousness is not one to be solved in a single night, nor perhaps in a lifetime. Instead, let it rest within you, like a stone smoothed by a river's endless flow. Consider the possibility that every glance exchanged with a stranger, every shared smile or tear, might be a tiny fracture in the wall that separates us, a crack through which something vast and ancient peers through. Science may not yet have the tools to explore this realm, but that does not diminish its pull on our imagination, nor the quiet wonder it stirs in the depths of our being. Take a moment to reflect on this. Feel the weight of your own thoughts, and imagine, just for a breath, that they are not yours alone. Sense the invisible currents that might bind you to others, to the world, to something beyond. Let this mystery cradle you as the night deepens and the boundaries of self grow soft and porous. Imagine for a moment a quiet evening miles away from anyone you know, a stillness so profound that even the air seems to hold its breath. Suddenly, a sharp pang of unease grips you, an inexplicable certainty that someone dear to you is in distress. There are no messages, no calls, no logical reason for this feeling, yet it lingers, heavy and undeniable. Hours later, a phone call confirms your fear. A loved one was indeed in trouble at that very moment. How could you have known? Was this mere coincidence, or does the mind possess a reach beyond the boundaries of space and time? This is the shadowy realm we step into now, a place where consciousness seems to whisper across distances, where thoughts might bridge the gap between one soul and another without a single word spoken. Some call it telepathy, a concept that hovers on the edge of belief and skepticism, a phenomenon that defies the rigid frameworks of what we think we understand about the mind. It's a notion as old as humanity itself, woven into ancient stories. of seers and shamans, of unspoken bonds between twins or lovers, of knowing something you shouldn't possibly know. But what lies beneath these tales? Is there a hidden thread connecting us all, a silent language of thought that science has yet to uncover? Consider the depth of such a connection. Picture two minds, separated by oceans, yet somehow attuned to the same unspoken frequency. You sense a friend's joy before they share it, or feel a parent's worry before they voice it. These moments, fleeting and often dismissed, carry a weight of mystery. They challenge the very foundation of how we define communication, suggesting that consciousness might not be confined to the solitary vessel of the brain. Could it be that our thoughts ripple outward, like invisible waves, touching others in ways we cannot see or measure? Or are these experiences merely the mind playing tricks, weaving patterns of meaning where none exist? Science, with its tools of logic and observation, stands at a crossroads when faced with such claims. The skeptical voice insists that telepathic echoes are nothing more than coincidence, a product of our desire to find connection in a chaotic world. After all, there are no repeatable experiments, no concrete data to pin down this elusive phenomenon. Studies on telepathy, often conducted under the banner of parapsychology, have yielded results that are inconclusive at best, dismissed by mainstream thought as pseudoscience. Yet, the persistence of these stories across cultures and generations cannot be so easily swept aside. Why do so many of us, in quiet moments, feel the tug of another's mind? Why does the heart sometimes know what the eyes cannot see? Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever felt a sudden, unexplainable pull towards someone, a certainty of their state without any tangible proof? Sit with that memory, if it exists, and let it unfold in your mind. What did it teach you about the boundaries of your own awareness? As we linger in this speculative space, we must also consider the possibility of something deeper at play, a facet of consciousness that transcends the physical. Ancient traditions speak of a shared essence, a collective mind that binds all living things. In the Upanishads of India, there is the idea of Atman, the individual soul, merging with Brahman, the universal consciousness, a connection so profound that separation becomes an illusion. Could telepathic echoes be faint glimpses of this unity, brief moments when the walls between self and other dissolve? Or are we simply projecting our longing for closeness onto the mysteries of the mind, crafting stories to soothe our isolation? There is no easy answer, and perhaps there never will be. The realm of telepathic connection sits at the very edge of what we can grasp, a frontier where science hesitates and wonder takes hold. It invites us to question the limits of our own perception, to ponder whether the mind is truly an island or part of a vast, unseen network. If such a bond exists, what might it mean for how we relate to one another? Could we learn to listen more deeply, not just with our ears, but with the quiet intuition of thought itself? Let this mystery rest with you now, like a soft shadow in the corner of your mind. There is no need to solve it, no urgency to define what cannot yet be defined. Instead, allow the possibility to linger, a quiet reminder that consciousness may hold secrets far beyond the reach of our current understanding. As the night deepens, let this thought be a gentle companion, a whisper of connection that stretches across the unseen distances, inviting you to wonder what lies just beyond this horizon of the known. Imagine a quiet night, the kind where the world seems to hold its breath, and in the stillness, a strange thought creeps into your mind, a vision, vivid and unbidden, of something yet to come. It's a fleeting image, perhaps of a storm tearing through a familiar street or a conversation that hasn't yet happened, but it feels so real, so certain, that it sends a chill down your spine. You shake it off, chalk it up to an overactive imagination, but deep down, a question lingers. What if, somehow, you've glimpsed the future? What if your consciousness, in its mysterious wanderings, has slipped beyond the confines of the present and touched something beyond time itself? This is the enigma of precognition, a phenomenon that sits at the edge of human experience, whispered about in hushed tones and dismissed by many as mere fantasy. Yet, across cultures and centuries, there are countless stories of individuals who claim to have seen events before they unfolded, dreams of disasters that came true, premonitions of loss or triumph that defied all logic. Picture a woman in a small village centuries ago, waking from a dream of a shipwreck, her heart pounding with dread, only to learn days later that her vision matched a tragedy at sea. Or consider a modern account, a man who dreams of a plane falling from the sky, only to turn on the news the next morning and see his nightmare mirrored in reality. These stories, though often anecdotal, carry a weight that's hard to ignore. They pull at the threads of what we believe about time, about the nature of our minds, and about the boundaries of what's possible. But what could explain such a thing? Is it conceivable that consciousness, in its infinite complexity, holds a capacity to peer through the veil of time? Or are we simply weaving patterns from chaos, finding meaning in coincidence because we yearn for a deeper sense of connection to the universe? Science, with its rigorous demand for evidence, leans heavily toward the latter. It suggests that precognition is likely a trick of memory or perception, a retrospective illusion where we misremember the sequence of events, convincing ourselves we knew something before it happened. After all, the human mind is a masterful storyteller, often reshaping reality to fit a narrative that feels profound. And yet, even in this dismissal, there's a flicker of uncertainty. Some researchers, though few, have dared to explore these claims through controlled experiments, testing whether individuals can predict random outcomes before they occur. The results are inconclusive, often criticized, but they leave just enough room for wonder, a crack in the wall of skepticism through which mystery still seeps. Take a moment to reflect on this. Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable certainty about something yet to come? A hunch so strong it seemed to bypass reason, arriving fully formed in your mind. Whether you dismiss it as coincidence or hold it as something more, the feeling itself is undeniable. A quiet ripple in the stream of your thoughts, hinting at depths we cannot fully chart. Let's linger on the notion of time itself, for precognition challenges our very understanding of its flow. We experience life as a linear journey, a river moving inexorably from past to future, with the present as our only point of contact. But what if time is not so rigid? What if, in moments of heightened awareness, or in the strange theatre of dreams, our consciousness can drift beyond this narrow current, catching echoes of what lies ahead? Ancient philosophies and spiritual traditions have long entertained such ideas, speaking of time as cyclical or illusory, a construct that the soul or mind can transcend. In the quiet of a temple, a mystic might claim that all moments, past, present, future, exist simultaneously, and that rare individuals, through intuition or divine insight, can glimpse this eternal now. Even modern physics, with its theories of relativity and quantum entanglement, hints at a reality where time might not be as fixed as we assume. Could it be that precognition, if real, is not a supernatural gift, but a fleeting alignment with a truth we've yet to grasp? Consider a metaphor. Imagine your mind as a radio, tuned most often to the frequency of the present, receiving signals of now. But on rare occasions, perhaps in the stillness of sleep or the intensity of emotion, the dial slips, picking up faint broadcasts from a station not yet reached, a future moment resonating through the ether of existence. Is this mere static, a glitch in the machinery of thought? Or could it be a signal from a realm we don't yet understand? The question hangs in the air, unanswered, inviting us to ponder the nature of our own awareness. Are we bound by the ticking of clocks? Or does some part of us roam free, untethered by the laws we've written for ourselves? As we sit with this mystery, it's worth remembering that not all truths need to be proven to stir something within us. The stories of precognition, whether fact or fiction, speak to a longing, a desire to believe that we are more than fleeting sparks in an indifferent void, that our minds might hold a key to something vast and unseen. Perhaps the true power of these experiences lies not in their veracity, but in the questions they awaken. They nudge us to look beyond the surface of our days, to wonder if the future is already whispering to us in ways we've yet to hear. Take a moment to reflect on this. Close your eyes, if only for a breath, and imagine a moment yet to come, a scene, a feeling, a fragment of tomorrow. Does it feel distant, or does some quiet part of you already know its shape? Let the thought linger, not as a certainty, but as a possibility, a soft invitation to marvel at the enigma of your own mind. And so we rest here, at the edge of what's known, gazing into the mist of what might be. Precognition, whether illusion or insight, reminds us that consciousness is a frontier still largely unexplored. It whispers of a world where time might bend, where the future could cast shadows backward into our dreams, and where the human spirit, in its quietest moments, might just touch the infinite. Let this thought be a gentle companion as you drift through the night, a reminder that even in our uncertainties, there is beauty in the unknown. Imagine for a moment that the very act of looking at something could change its nature, not in the poetic sense of perception altering meaning, but in the raw, fundamental fabric of reality itself. What if your gaze, your mere awareness, holds the power to shape the world at its most basic level? This is not a thought experiment born of fantasy, but a haunting riddle that emerges from the strange and shadowy realm of quantum mechanics, a realm where the boundaries between mind and matter blur into something almost unthinkable. Let us step into this mystery with quiet curiosity. Picture a simple experiment, one that has perplexed scientists for nearly a century. It is called the double-slit experiment, a deceptively modest setup that unveils a profound anomaly. Imagine a screen with two narrow slits carved into it, like twin doorways for the smallest of travelers. Behind this screen, a device fires particles, tiny specks of matter, smaller than we can fathom, toward these slits. When no one watches, when no instrument or eye observes their journey, these particles behave as waves, passing through both slits at once and creating a pattern of interference on the other side, like ripples merging on a still pond. It is as though they exist in multiple places simultaneously, defying the very notion of solidity. But now, imagine placing a detector, a silent sentinel, to watch which slit each particle chooses. The moment observation enters the equation, everything changes. The particles, as if aware of being seen, abandon their wave-like dance and act as bullets, choosing one slit or the other, forming a pattern of two distinct lines. The act of watching collapses their possibilities into a single, definite reality. How can this be? How can the mere presence of consciousness, or at least the tools of observation tied to it, alter the behavior of the universe's building blocks? Does reality itself depend on being witnessed? This is not a question of philosophy alone, though it beckons us to wander into existential depths. It is a tangible, repeatable phenomenon that sits at the heart of quantum mechanics, a field that underpins much of modern science, yet remains cloaked in enigma. Scientists have wrestled with this observer effect for decades, offering interpretations that range from the mathematical to the almost mystical. Some suggest that consciousness itself plays no role, that it is the act of measurement, the physical interaction of detectors, that forces the change. Others dare to whisper a stranger possibility, that the mind, in some unfathomable way, is woven into the very fabric of existence, a thread that cannot be pulled apart from the tapestry of reality. Take a moment to reflect on this. What does it mean if your awareness, the silent watcher within, holds a kind of cosmic influence? Are we not just passive spectators of the universe, but active participants in its unfolding? Consider the vastness of this idea, that the act of observing might not merely reveal the world, but help to create it. Does this elevate consciousness to something far beyond a byproduct of biology? Something that resonates with the deepest laws of nature? Let us linger here, in this quiet unease. If the observer effect hints at a connection between mind and matter, what then are the limits of our influence? Could it be that every thought, every fleeting glance, ripples outward in ways we cannot yet comprehend? Or is this an illusion, a misstep in our understanding of quantum strangeness, waiting for a clearer explanation to emerge from the shadows? Science, for all its brilliance, stands at a crossroads here. It can measure the effects, chart the patterns, and build technologies upon these principles. Yet it cannot fully bridge the gap between the observer and the observed. The question remains, why does reality seem to care whether it is seen? As we sit with this mystery, let the weight of it settle gently. Imagine yourself as the observer, gazing not at particles or slits, but at the world around you, the flicker of a candle, the rustle of leaves in the night. Could it be that your attention, your quiet presence, is shaping more than you realize? Or is this a fleeting dream of significance, a story we tell ourselves to feel less alone in an indifferent cosmos? Whatever the truth, there is something hauntingly beautiful in the possibility that consciousness, yours, mine, ours, might be a key to the very structure of existence, a whisper of purpose in the silent machinery of the universe. Let this thought drift with you, a companion in the stillness, as we ponder what it truly means to see, to know, and to be. Imagine, for a moment, a world where every action, every thought, every fleeting emotion could be perfectly replicated by a machine. Picture a robot, crafted with such precision that it mirrors your every gesture, laughing at the right moments, speaking with the cadence of your voice, even shedding a tear when the situation demands it. Yet, as you stare into its polished, unblinking eyes, a shiver creeps down your spine. Something is missing. Beneath the flawless imitation, there is no spark, no inner world, no silent hum of feeling that defines what it means to be alive. This haunting absence brings us to the heart of an enigma that has puzzled philosophers and scientists for centuries. Why does awareness exist at all? Let us linger on this question, allowing it to unfold like a quiet fog over a still lake. Why? Is there something it feels like to be you? To taste the bitterness of coffee on a cold morning? To ache with longing or tremble with joy? Why does the machinery of biology, cells and synapses, blood and bone, give rise to this invisible, intangible thing we call subjective experience? A robot might process data, might calculate and respond, but it lacks the quiet inner theater where life truly plays out. It does not marvel at a sunset or feel the weight of a memory. And so we must ask, what is this mysterious quality that separates the living from the merely functional? Consider the vast expanse of the natural world. A tree sways in the wind, its roots drawing water from the earth, its leaves turning toward the sun. It reacts, it grows, it adapts, yet we do not imagine it feels the breeze or knows the warmth. A river carves its path through stone, ceaselessly moving, yet it does not ponder its journey. Why then do we humans, and perhaps other creatures, carry this burden and gift of awareness? Why does the universe, in its infinite indifference, bother to create beings who can look upon it and feel awe? Take a moment to reflect on this. Let the weight of the question settle into your mind like a pebble sinking into deep water. Science, for all its brilliance, stands at the edge of this abyss and falters. It can map the brain with astonishing detail, tracing the firing of neurons, the dance of chemicals that accompany every thought and emotion. It can tell us how pain signals travel or how memories are stored in delicate networks. But when asked why these physical processes give rise to the sensation of pain, to the vivid recollection of a childhood summer, it remains silent. This is what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness, a riddle so profound that even the most advanced theories seem to circle around it, unable to penetrate its core. It is as if we are trying to explain color to someone who has never seen, or music to someone who has never heard. The essence of experience slips through our grasp, elusive as a shadow. Let us wander deeper into this mystery with a thought experiment. Imagine a world where consciousness does not exist, a universe of pure mechanism, where every action unfolds with cold precision, like gears turning in a vast, silent clock. Stars burn, planets orbit, life evolves, but there is no one to witness it, no inner voice to whisper, "I am here." Would such a world be less real? Or is consciousness itself the lens through which reality gains meaning? Perhaps, in some unfathomable way, the universe needed eyes to see itself, hearts to feel its weight, minds to question its existence. But why? Why not remain in the quiet void of unawareness? As we ponder this, let us consider the ancient thinkers who grappled with similar questions long before the age of neuroscience. In the dim light of oil lamps, they wrote of the soul, of a divine breath that animates the body and grants us the gift of feeling. They spoke of consciousness as a fragment of the eternal, a spark of something greater woven into the fabric of our being. Today, we might dismiss such ideas as poetic, fancy, replacing them with talk of neural pathways and emergent properties. Yet even now, with all our instruments and equations, we stand no closer to unraveling the why behind our inner world. Could it be that some truths lie beyond the reach of reason, nestled in a realm we can sense but never fully name? Take a moment to reflect on this. Close your eyes if you wish, and feel the quiet presence of your own awareness. Notice how it hums beneath your thoughts, a silent witness to every fleeting moment. Why does it exist? Why are you not merely a collection of impulses and reactions, but a being who feels, who wonders, who aches to understand? There is no easy answer, and perhaps there never will be. Science admits its limits here, confessing that this core mystery remains unsolved, a question mark etched into the heart of existence itself. And so, we are left to sit with the unknown, to cradle this enigma like a fragile flame in the dark. Perhaps the purpose of consciousness is not to be explained, but to be lived, to taste the sweetness of a single breath, to tremble at the vastness of the night sky, to feel the quiet ache of being human. As we rest in this thought, let the mystery linger, wrapping around us like a gentle mist. For in this unsolved riddle, there is a strange kind of peace, a reminder that some wonders are not meant to be conquered, but simply to be felt. Imagine for a moment that you stand at the edge of everything you know, gazing into a horizon that stretches beyond the limits of thought itself. What if consciousness, the very essence of your being, holds layers so profound, so infinite, that even our greatest minds cannot begin to map them? What if there are realms of awareness, beyond comprehension, beyond measurement, where the boundaries of time, self, and reality dissolve into a singular, boundless expanse? Let us wander into this uncharted territory, a place where even the word consciousness feels too small to contain what might await. Picture yourself slipping into a state unlike any other, a kind of existence where the ticking of clocks fades into irrelevance, where the notion of I melts away like mist under the morning sun. In this imagined pinnacle, there is no separation between you and the universe. You are not merely a part of it, you are it. The stars overhead are not distant fires, but extensions of your own essence, pulsing with the same silent rhythm that courses through what once was your body. There is no past to cling to, no future to fear, only an eternal now that hums with a truth too vast to name. Could this be the ultimate layer of consciousness, a level beyond any scale we might dare to invent? Or is it a dream woven by a mind desperate to grasp the ungraspable? Consider the possibility that such a state is not a fiction, but a destination, a peak that humanity might one day ascend, or perhaps one we have forgotten in our rush to measure and define. Ancient mystics spoke of such oneness, of merging with the divine, where the self is no longer a solitary island, but an ocean without shores. In the Upanishads of India, it is written that the individual soul, or Atman, is not separate from the universal Brahman, a unity so complete that to speak of you or me becomes meaningless. Were these sages glimpsing a level of awareness we cannot yet fathom? Or were they merely crafting metaphors to soothe the ache of the unknown? Take a moment to reflect on this. What might it feel like to exist without edges, without the weight of identity pressing down upon you? Yet, as we ponder this infinite layer, a quiet doubt creeps in like a shadow at dusk. Science, our steadfast guide through the mysteries of the cosmos, stands at a loss here. It can chart the firing of neurons, trace the chemicals that dance through our brains during moments of awe, but it cannot reach into this imagined beyond. The tools of observation, equations, experiments, scans, seem to falter when faced with a state that defies the very structure of reality as we understand it. Is this because such a level of consciousness lies outside the realm of matter altogether, or because we have not yet forged the language to describe it? Imagine a blind man trying to comprehend the color blue. No amount of explanation can bridge the gap between concept and experience. Are we too blind to these higher planes, fumbling with crude instruments in the dark? And so we must ask, if such a pinnacle exists, is it meant for us to reach? Or is it a mystery woven into the fabric of existence to humble us? Perhaps the journey itself, the endless questioning, the fleeting glimpses of something greater, is the true essence of consciousness. Perhaps to stand at level 100 or 1,000 or beyond is not to arrive, but to realize there was never a destination at all. The ancients believed that the soul yearns for reunion with the infinite, a longing that drives every thought, every dream. Could it be that this yearning is not a flaw but a compass, pointing us toward a horizon we may never cross but must always seek? Let this thought linger as a gentle whisper in your mind. What if the infinite layers of consciousness are not a puzzle to solve but a song to hear, a melody that plays across the ages through every mind that has ever wondered? What if some mysteries are not barriers but invitations, beckoning us to rest in their embrace rather than conquer them? Take a moment to reflect on this. Imagine yourself dissolving into that boundless state, just for a breath, letting go of the need to know. What do you feel in that stillness, in that surrender to the unknown? As we hover at this imagined edge, where consciousness transcends all we can grasp, there is a quiet peace in not having the answer. The universe, in its vast silence, does not demand that we understand. It simply is. And perhaps, in our deepest essence, so are we. Let this thought be a soft current carrying you onward, a reminder that even if we never touch these infinite layers, the act of reaching for them, of dreaming them, shapes the very fabric of who we are. As the world outside grows silent and the weight of the day slowly lifts from your shoulders, there is a moment, a fleeting, tender pause, where everything seems to hold its breath. Picture yourself lying in the quiet cocoon of your bed, the faint glow of moonlight slipping through a crack in the curtains, casting a silver thread across the room. The questions that have danced through your mind, those vast and untamed mysteries of consciousness, begin to soften, their edges blurring like a distant horizon at dusk. Tonight, we do not seek answers. Instead, we return to stillness, to a place where wonder becomes a gentle companion, guiding us toward the edge of sleep. In this sacred hush, the mind loosens its grip on the need to understand. All those anomalies, the dreams that defy logic, the intuitions that whisper without words, the glimpses of something beyond, fade into a quiet hum, like the sound of a faraway river flowing through the night. Feel the weight of your body against the sheets, the slow rhythm of your breath weaving itself into the fabric of this moment. There is no urgency here, no demand to unravel the enigma of awareness. Instead, there is an invitation to simply be, to let the unknown rest beside you, like an old friend who needs no explanation. Imagine the vast expanse of your inner world as a great, endless sea. All day, and perhaps all through this journey of thought, you've sailed across its surface, chasing storms of curiosity, diving into depths where light cannot reach. Now, as the night deepens, you draw your sails down. The waves grow still, and the sea mirrors the sky above, a perfect, unbroken calm. Those questions about the nature of your mind, about what lies beyond the veil of understanding, they do not disappear. They simply wait, shimmering beneath the surface, patient as the tide. Take a moment to reflect on this, to feel the peace of not needing to know, of allowing mystery to be your lullaby. There is something profound in this act of surrender, in choosing to embrace the unknown rather than wrestle with it. Think of the countless souls across time who have lain awake under similar skies, pondering the same eternal riddles. From ancient philosophers gazing at the stars to poets tracing the contours of the human spirit, they too found solace in the unanswered. Perhaps it is not our purpose to conquer these mysteries, but to dance with them, to let them guide us into dreams where the boundaries of consciousness dissolve. As you rest here, let that thought cradle you. The idea that sleep itself might be a portal, a quiet doorway to realms where the deepest secrets of your being whisper in ways words cannot capture. Feel the gentle pull of slumber now, like a current, drawing you beneath the surface of that vast inner sea. The anomalies of the mind, those fleeting glimpses of something greater, they do not demand resolution tonight. They are merely echoes, soft ripples that remind you of the infinite within. Let them linger as you drift, as your thoughts grow lighter, scattering like leaves on a slow autumn breeze. There is a beauty in not knowing, a comfort in resting with questions unanswered. As your eyes grow heavy, imagine each breath carrying you closer to a place where wonder and peace intertwine, where the unknown becomes a soft blanket draped over your dreams. So lie here in this tender stillness and let the night take you. The mysteries of consciousness, of what it means to be awake, to feel, to wonder, they will wait for another dawn. For now, there is only this moment, this quiet, this gentle surrender to the rhythm of rest. Let wonder be the last thought that brushes against your mind, a faint promise that in sleep you might wander into landscapes where the truest answers lie hidden, waiting to be felt rather than known. Drift now into that boundless space where the enigma of your own existence becomes a lullaby, singing you into the depths of the night.